Okay, we have about 30 participants, so let's just get started. Can somebody please confirm that I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And is my screen visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, good morning, everybody on the call. Welcome to the
Good
online
morning.
lecture organized by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. This class is for MA English, first year students. The course is course 2. It's titled American Literature. So yesterday, I'm not sure how many of you attended yesterday's class, but yesterday we talked about the characteristics of American poetry and looked at two specific writers, Walt Whitman and Emily Dickinson. We looked at their work a bit closer before we moved on to early 20th century poets. We discussed Robert Frost and we discussed a couple of poems written by Robert Frost. Today we will discuss American drama. Like I mentioned yesterday, American drama is more recent phenomenon than poetry, short story, and fiction in America. So it does not have as much of a history as many and as many dramatists as we have poets, short story writers, and fiction writers. There are a lot of short story writers, poets, and fiction writers coming from America because these genres have a lot of varied but very rich history in the US, but drama is a relatively new phenomenon. So we don't have that much of a history. So, like I said, there are many more poets and novelists than American dramatists and playwrights. Okay, I didn't include the objectives slide, but today's objectives are to basically understand how drama came about and what happened from when it started until the contemporary American drama, and try and look at two great plays. One is Eugene O'Neill's Desire Under the Elms, and then we will look at Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. And then we will move on to other topics. Okay. So like we did for other genres, let's first see how drama came to America and what are the characteristics of American drama. When somebody says what is American drama, what exactly do they mean? Is it just drama, or how is it different from the British drama? How is it different from the Indian theater? How is it different? But before that, when did drama come to US as a mainstream genre? That's what we have to discuss. And if you look at the history, there is nothing significant that happened in terms of drama before 1800 in the US. Okay, it kind of sort of started in 1800s. So when I say this, I mean that I don't mean that there was no drama at all before 1800, but I mean there is no drama written by an American on American themes. We have been continuously talking about this undercurrent of the American dream, American themes, and so on. So what I mean by there is no drama, I don't mean that there is not a single drama or single play that was written before 1800, but all I'm saying is the quintessential American flavor was missing from those plays. So what did they do in 1800s? Like all other genres we have seen so far, the plays in America imitated the British or the European style. We have seen this right from the starting, right? Except for the Native American literature. Almost every other genre, poetry, fiction, non-fiction prose, everything kind of sort of imitated the British or the European style. So that is also true for drama and plays. Okay, so let's look at the 19th century, which is the 1800s, a little closer. Your course book, again, I'm not sure how many of you have it in front of you or how many of you actually have it, but your course book describes what happened in the American drama and splits this into different time periods. Okay, let's first look at what happened between 1800 and 1865. That's the time period that the course book splits. But why 1865? What's so special about 1865? Why not 1864 or 1866? Why 1865? Does anybody know what happened in America in 1865 around that time? Any clue? Why should the book stop at 1865 instead of maybe 1890 or something?
Any
Civil
World
War.
War or something like that, sir?
Arshia, can you repeat that?
It's a, I believe there was a World War or something like that.
Okay. World War, you're a
Civil
little
War, sir.
early for the World War, actually, Arshia. World War happened in 1914. So we will come to the next. When we
Okay,
talk about
sir.
the next time period, that's where the World War is. But Samira is right. The Civil War happened in 1865. Basically 1860 to 1865. Okay, let me mute this person who's unmuted. Okay, I will repeat my request. Please don't unmute yourself and then talk, because sometimes people talk about personal stuff and then we don't want everybody on the call to hear that. So please make sure that you are unmuted only when you're talking about the subject at hand. Okay. So like I was saying, Samira is right. 1860 to 1865, that's when the American Civil War happened. Just a quick Samira, do you know what the Civil War is? Can you just summarize what the Civil War was?
Um, it was a war. Actually, the south side of America wanted to keep, the United States wanted to keep the slaves on. And the north side, I think they were more liberal. So I guess the war was between that, the conflict between the ideology.
Right. Yep. Very well put. So, like Samira said, the American Civil War, like I said, it happened between 1861 to around 1865. It was fought between the southern states, and the southern states were together called the Confederate States, or they are also called the Confederacy, and then the northern states, which are called the Union. So the fight was between, or the war was between the Confederacy and the Union. Okay, what were they fighting about? Like Samira mentioned, the major issue was slavery. Okay, there were other minor issues, but the major issue was slavery. The Confederate States, which are the southern states, wanted slavery. The Union, which are the northern states, wanted it to be abolished. So after 4 years of fighting, the Union won the war. So the northern states won the war, and soon slavery was made illegal everywhere in the United States. So that is why your book uses the year 1865, because it is a landmark decision of the United States government to abolish slavery. Okay, back to American drama. Now, drama. Nisar, can you please mute yourself? Okay, drama during 1800 to 1865 was mostly for entertainment and then to preach morals to people. Okay, this trend kind of continued for most of the century. 1800s it started, and then it was predominantly for entertainment and also to preach morals to people. There were lessons. Excuse me. I'm a little sick today, so please pardon my coughing and sneezing. So now, this was also the time when industry sprung up in America. So there was an industrial revolution. So a new social class, like the working middle class, came up. Okay, we've discussed this earlier also in one of the classes. Initially, there was nothing called middle class. There were either rich people and poor people. There was nothing called a middle class. Now, industrialization changed that. And then as industries started springing up, the working middle class came up because they needed workers. So this is how the middle class formed. So the themes related to social classes were portrayed in these dramas of this period, or the plays of this period. Now, this was also the period when Americans tried to get away from the British style of dramas and the British or the European themes, basically. So they wanted quintessentially American themes, something that is very close to America, those kind of themes. Now, one very important type of drama of this period is called the minstrel show. I think your book mentions it. I'm not 100% sure, but there's something called minstrel shows. Now, this is kind of a racist entertainment. A typical minstrel play or minstrel show has black people and white people and a white person. The white person is in the middle, so he sits in the center, and black people are on either side of this white person. So you can imagine one person sitting in the middle, a white person, and then the black people are surrounding him. Then there will be a chorus that stands behind the white person. Okay, then there will be like jokes, songs, skits, and this, that, and everything that are being told. But these jokes were usually at the expense of the black people. So the people who are standing around this white person, these jokes that were being told are at the expense of these people. So the jokes were making fun of the life of black people. They were making fun of their culture. They were making fun of their lifestyle, their eating habits, and so on. So you can see why this type of drama is extremely racist, because you are putting the black person in the middle of the scene and then, making fun of him or her. So it's an extremely racist form, but it did happen in this time period. Okay. Like I said, nothing much happened in the 1800s when it comes to drama, except or plays, except for what we have already discussed. Okay, now moving on to the period of 1865 to 1914. This is where Russia's comment comes into picture. Why 1914? Because 1914 is the start of the World War One. Okay, so we are talking about the period between the end of Civil War and start of the World War, and in between there is also the turn of the century. Okay, from 1800s we are coming to 1900s. Now, we know that the initial part and even in the second part of the 19th century, realism was big in America. Yesterday, we discussed when we were discussing poetry, how, romanticism was left out and then, realism came into picture because people started realizing or writers started realizing the utopian view of romanticism, which is like, talking about imaginary stuff, talking about, nature and all these things are all okay, but then that doesn't really reflect what is happening in the world at that time. When the war broke out, people lost their lives, people lost their jobs, people lost their money, people lost their closed ones. This is not reflective of what romanticism was preaching at that time. So they left romanticism and then they went towards realism. We discussed this yesterday when this also happened on the poetry side in the US. But this is when people started writing about something called local color. What is local color? It is everything to do with local language, local customs, local cultures, etc. So now, if you take an example, if you take a particular state in the US, and then you talk about, or writers from that area started talking about the local customs, the local language. Basically, language is English, but then the dialects and the other variants of language. They started talking about those influences of other languages and local culture and local festivals. This is what they started, writing about. Now, if you look at it, the summation of all these local cultures, if you add all these local cultures together or local colors together, it's a realistic representation of the nation, right? So, for example, in India, if we take, literature from Telangana versus literature from Andhra versus literature from Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh or Jharkhand, wherever it is, okay, or Haryana, we take all these and then all the writers in these areas will write about their local color. Obviously, even though we are one nation, our local cultures are completely different. The culture of Telangana is completely different from the culture of, for example, Haryana. Okay. So when these individual writers write about these local colors, which are distinct, but at the same time together in the nation, and you summate all these things, when you bring all these things together, that is what we call Indian literature, right? That is what we call the Indian writing. So this is what they were trying to do. They were all trying to write about the local color and local cultures, and then in summation, they would form a national literature. Okay. But what themes did these realist dramas have? They used, race relations, like the relations between black and white people. They used marriage. They used death. They used immortality. All these were the themes because all these were issues and themes of the society of that time. Race relations, they had really bad relations between white and blacks. Even though, the slavery was abolished, the after effects of it were still there. There were, immortality, there was death. And then so they were talking about death, they were talking about immortality, they were talking about economic collapse. All these were the themes because these were actually the issues formed by or experienced by the society of that time. Okay, let me very quickly go to the chat and see if there are any questions. Okay. Okay, any questions so far? Or can I move on to the next time period? Okay.
Continue,
Okay, let's move on to the Ashia, were you saying something?
continue.
Okay. Drama between the world wars. Now, you probably already know that the world has experienced two major wars, which is the World War One and World War Two. The World War One happened in 1914, and then the World War Two happened in the early 40s, 1940s. So what happened between these world wars is that there was a extremely big economic meltdown. It's called Great Depression. Now, Great Depression is nothing but that economic meltdown, an economic depression that happened during 1929 to 1939. That's the decade in which, the world was economically completely unstable. Now, this economic collapse led to permanent closure of many theaters in America. Okay, let's not discuss what caused the economic collapse and then what happened to people. Excuse me, can you give me a second? One sec. Okay, I'm back. So from a theater perspective or from a drama perspective, American drama perspective, this economic collapse of 1929 to 39 led to permanent closures of many theaters in America. Okay, people didn't go much to, theaters. Now, it's not just the economic collapse, but then there is also one very interesting thing that is happening in America at this time, which is the generation or creation of or development, not creation, development of sound technology in America. Okay, the sound technology in America basically means, we had motion pictures at that time. Before that, they were all, pictures which didn't have any sound or movies that didn't have any sound. Now, this was the time when, the sound technology was developed, and then in the US, this gave way to motion pictures. Now, as a result, the number of theater goers declined severely in the 1930s, very severely. Why? Because people preferred sitting at home and then watching the TV instead of going to a theater and then watching somebody perform. Now, like I said, the economic collapse basically means stock markets crashed in 1929 and a huge number of people lost their jobs. Everything became very expensive. People lost trust on the governments and so on and so forth. All these, you can imagine how the time was at that time. Now, an offshoot of this from an American drama perspective is a type of drama called protest drama came up during this time, which had very unique themes. Unique themes were, mocking the government and, talking about social issues and then saying, well, the leaders are not doing what they are doing. The government is not actually doing its job. That is why, we have all lost our jobs. So this is something called protest drama. And this type of drama was a weapon for creating awareness. It's not just, mocking the government or something, but it is more for creating awareness within the people, informing and then educating the public about, stuff that matters to people as a community. As a community, people would, or the dramatists or the playwrights would say, these are the social issues that we are going through at this point in time, and then the government is not doing anything. So this is one way, was one way of percolating or disseminating this particular, thought process. Okay. Now, realism continued to be the primary form of the plays of the 20th century. And as we come to the second half of the century, now I've mentioned this before, but then contemporary, that word, the definition depends on who you ask. But for the purpose of our discussion, contemporary in this American literature class is anything after World War II. So anything after 1945 is what we call contemporary. Okay, just keep that in mind, so that we're not confused about what contemporary is. Usually contemporary for most people is the 21st century, but for our purposes of discussion, it is anything after 1945, we'll call it contemporary. Okay. Now, like I said, realism continued to be the primary form of plays of the 20th century. And as we come to the second half of the 20th century, many talented new dramatists came forward with broad issues like civil rights, and AIDS epidemic was a big thing at that time in the second half of the 20th century. So they even wrote about the impacts of, or there were plays about impacts of AIDS and how people are impacted and families are impacted and so on and so forth. Now, in the mid 1900s, which is the late 20th century and beginning of the 21st century, musicals like these blockbusters caused, again, there was a huge closure or huge number of commercial theater closures were happening at this point in time, because this is the time when, internet came in, and then younger audiences were attracted more by films and television than non-theater entertainment. So the younger generation was like, who would take the time and energy to go to a theater and watch somebody perform, stand in the line, get the tickets, whatever. they preferred more films, television, and non-theater entertainment. So this led to closure of many more theaters. With this, there were economic difficulties to both playwrights as well as theaters. A lot of theaters closed down, so playwrights were not in demand. Theaters were having economic struggle because going through economic struggle because nobody came to them. Now, this resulted in plays with, now the only thing that they can do is modify the plays that they were making. Now, what they did was to save, time, energy, and money. What they did was they reduced the length of the play. They reduced the length of the play to a single setting and took less number of characters that would make them less expressive, but also less expensive also. So the number of characters came down around this time because not many people would come. Now, around this time, many playwrights started writing plays with film and television adaptation in mind. This is a very important change in the US drama, and I think this is the change that has happened everywhere else in the world also. Turn of the 20th century, or from the 20th century to the 21st century, is a very vibrant time where a lot of technological advances happen. So keeping that in mind, all the dramatists and story writers and everybody started thinking about how can we make, if I write a novel, then how can I make it into a television series or make a movie out of it? In the same way, if I write a play, then how can it be made into a film or a television adaptation? There are two advantages. One is, you are catering to the younger minds. And the second thing is they can reach geographically diverse audience. Because of the internet, they can reach to many people outside of the US. Now, if you look at 2024, which we are in now, you can actually see or watch programs that have been broadcasted in the US a long time ago until yesterday. I mean, there are some shows and movies that get released in India and the US at the same time. So we are also catering to this kind of diverse audience geographically, making, so suddenly American theater, instead of being the quintessential American theater, which was localized, quote unquote, it suddenly became specialized in its alternatives, which are the films and TV adaptations and that kind of stuff. Okay, any questions? Let me quickly check. Okay, there's a side discussion going on assignments. I'm not going to read that out, but continue that discussion if it helps you. No questions on drama. Okay, any questions?
You mentioned year contemporary. You said that it's not 21st century. When it started, sir? Which year?
1945. I am saying
45.
1945. Yeah, that was the end of the Second World War.
Okay, sir. Okay.
So anything after 1945, we'll call it contemporary because 21st century is a little too close to where we are living.
Yes, sir. Yes. And sir, you were talking about motion pictures. It was like audio visual.
Yes, it was. So, Arshad, before the 20s, the movies were all visual. There was no audio in.
Okay, sir.
If you, I can give you an example actually, but then it's a really old movie.
Even I've seen, sir, that like they used to play in slideshow.
Yeah, exactly. The slides will come in between the scenes. Those are called intertitles. Okay.
Yes,
Now we have
yes,
subtitles, right? Those
yes,
were called intertitles at that time. So there would be one scene, and then there would be a slide which would explain what is happening in the scene, and then there would be the next scene. So it was
yes,
like that. So yeah, Asad says Mookie. Yes, that's what it is called. Yeah. It can be called like motion pictures or like you said, audio component came in around the 20s. Okay, and then this dubbing, subtitling, all of those kind of started around that time. So that's why while the time period of early 20th century was very vibrant, it was also tumultuous. I mean, there were wars, there was this, there was that, but at the same time, the technology was also improving at a rapid pace. So we got subtitles, we got dubbing, all these things started around the starting of the century, 20th century. Okay, Pujita, you are saying, can you please explain what is drama and what is contemporary? Yeah, contemporary, I think Arshia already addressed that. Contemporary, basically, we are saying anything after 1945, we are calling it contemporary. Okay. And what is drama? What is drama? Can somebody explain what drama is? We can explain drama when comparing it with something else. So can somebody take a shot at it and then explain to Pujita what a drama is or what a play is? Actually, it's no, a better word is play. What is a play?
Source of entertainment, sir.
Yeah. Source of entertainment. Yeah, I agree with that. But then so is a movie, right? Movie
Yes.
is also a source of entertainment. Music is also a source of entertainment. But how is that different from drama?
Something done live for the live audience on a stage.
Exactly. So that's the basic difference between other types of entertainment and drama, Pujita. So, like Sajid said, the the basic characteristic of a play is you are actually seeing live people performing it. So there are tons of plays that are performed, especially in the US, which are called Broadway shows. Okay, these are musicals, these are dramas, these are everything
So
those are performed live
we can say on the stage.
on the stage. Okay, yeah, that's also a way of putting it. Yes, on the stage.
So actually, what contemporary American drama? What is the difference between before 1945 and after 1945?
Yeah, before 1945, I've explained, like before 1945 is 1800 to 1865, 1865 to 1914, right? So
Yeah.
what there people very much focused on realism. Okay, from 1800 to 1865, it was the Civil War and entertainment and models and that kind of stuff. 1865 to 1914 was realistic drama instead of, the romantic drama. It was realistic drama. Drama between the world wars is a real difficult thing. Why? Because there was a Great Depression and then everybody lost their lives, everybody lost their sources of income. So if you lose your source of income, your first priority is not going and seeing a drama, right? Your first problem is actually filling your tummy. It's not going and seeing some drama or play in a theater. So it didn't have much attention or it didn't have much development during the world wars. Contemporary American drama, we'll talk about it in a minute. Okay. After 1945, what happened, we will talk about it. Okay. Yeah, Asad, you're right. Bread and butter issues are bigger than, going to the drama or putting on makeup. These things are secondary than, filling your tummy. Yeah, right. Okay. When we say, again, Pujita, when we say contemporary American drama, I'd split them into two pieces. One is from 1945 to the start of the 21st century. In that time period, when I said, the technological advances made theaters close down. Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you went and saw a play? When did you see a drama last? Was that in the last 10 years? Even in the Indian context, has any one of you seen a drama in the last 10 years?
No, sir.
Yeah, see, why? Because we are in the current situation, we are more attracted towards television shows, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video or whatever, and YouTube and Instagrams and this kind of stuff. Not actually going and then seeing a theater performance, right? So that's the same thing with the US
So
also. There were technological advancements.
we enjoy in the school and colleges nowadays.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
For
small
us,
skits like
exactly. Yeah, that is drama for us. But then when you really look at it, that's not actually the play, right? It's not the kids performing. There are these artists who have worked really hard all their life to become what they become, and then they really perform these plays very well. But they don't get the respect these days, or they don't even get the attention that they deserve. Why? Because we are more obsessed with the newer technologies, right? The same
And
thing
they were
happened.
message oriented also.
Exactly. Yes. They were message oriented. It depends again, Sajid. I think they were message oriented for most of the time, but then it
Most of
depends
the time.
on But there are some, groups which are ideological based. Okay, like if you look at Janam, which is a theater group in India. Janam is Jananaट्य Manch, but their ideology is, it goes onto the left. Okay, so their plays are more onto the left ideology leaning. Okay, so it also depends on what kind of plays we are talking about. But okay,
So drama and theater play are both are same or they are different?
good question. Plays are usually done in theaters. Now, drama is a genre. Okay, so that doesn't just mean theater plays, but there can be, like, you've heard this word Korean drama. It's
Yeah,
pretty popular actually. So
yeah.
it's a genre. It's not something that people do. Okay, it's basically telling you that it is being dramatic. That is drama. Theater plays are basically plays that are physically performed, like Sajid said, live in front of. Okay.
Sir,
Thank you,
but
sir.
wouldn't convenience also matter? For example, if you have to go to a theater, it's like a very probably not near to your house, or and it cannot be done at any time. It should be done at a stipulated time.
Yep.
So wouldn't all that matter as well?
Oh yeah, it does. It does. No, I'm not saying we are doing something wrong by not going to watch theater plays or anything. All I'm saying is the lifestyle has changed so much that we are, it is what it is, right? I mean, we prefer Netflix more than, like you said, going at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon to watch a play somewhere in Lamakan or somewhere in Hyderabad is a little tiresome and a pain, because we'll have to drive from wherever we are until there. There's traffic, there's this, there's that. Instead, we will just lie on our sofa and then, just watch a Netflix movie or something.
At
Yes,
our
you're
own
right.
convenience, no, sir.
Yes, at our own convenience, we can do that. Yeah, oh, that's a very good, somebody just 3050 Rafe. I'm sure that's not the correct or the right name, but then he or she has said it's called e-drama, which is electronic drama. So that's a good way of putting it. Okay, Jaya Vishnu is asking, what do these modern drama books like Fault in Our Stars and others nowadays book come under? Since they are contemporary to us, can we call them contemporary? Yes, they can be called contemporary because, they are made while we are here, we are living. They can be contemporary. The problem is not defining what is the end of contemporary. The problem is defining what is the start of contemporary. Okay, contemporary, of course, is the current time, right? But where does it start? What is current time? That is why I said, from 1945. Okay.
Sir, nowadays in Nukkad Natak also comes under dramas.
Yes. Yes.
In
It's a
villages, we
form
have
of
seen
it's a
it
form
still.
of drama. Yes. Nukkad Natak is a form of drama.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Shravya is asking, can you please send notes for the subject, sir? Can you hold on to that thought, Shravya? We've discussed, I don't know if you have attended the previous classes, but we've discussed this earlier. I'm going to send some notes. I mean, these notes are not prepared by me, but these are from the internet and elsewhere. But these are pertinent to your subject, American literature. So I will send those to someone. We still have, apart from this class, we still have 2 more classes. So let's do that in the last class or maybe next Saturday class. I'll do that. Okay. So hold off until that time. It's not going to be an in-depth notes because, in-depth notes is basically same as your course book. So it doesn't make sense to give notes on the course book, which is concise in the first place anyway. So I will try and bring in some notes, PDFs, and then I will send it to one of you, or I will just upload it onto the meeting and then you can download it from the chat box. All right.
So will it be okay from exam point of view? We go to other sources also apart from the books what we have.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay.
It will be okay. It is just that don't go too far. That's the only thing.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go too far, then, it is, well, it's still okay. It is just that the course book has been given to you after a lot of effort, I'm sure. I mean, people, whoever have written the course book have put in a lot of effort to concisely tell you what happened during these time frames and in these genres. So stick to the book as much as possible, but of course you can obviously go elsewhere because we can't. History doesn't change, right? And it's still the same. If you get it from internet or from the course book, it's still the same. So
Okay,
feel
okay.
free, Sajid, to go and then read from elsewhere. If it's simpler or if it makes more sense, do that, and we will. Okay, we'll go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, 21st century. 21st century, I don't think your book talks about 21st century, but because we are living in 21st century, I will just give you a very brief overview of what happened in American drama in 21st century. Now, some works like Tracy Letts, August, um, revisit these themes that have appeared in American drama for years. Okay, for years and decades and centuries, the themes are family dynamics, interpersonal relationships. These are the themes of American drama. So these themes were revisited in the 21st century also. There are a lot of dramas even today which talk about this particular set of themes. And then in addition to these, new themes also came like Aya Akhtar's, it's called Disgraced or yeah, I think it's called Disgraced. That's a play that explores the Muslim American identity, especially in the aftermath of 9/11 Twin Towers falling down. It talks about, the Muslim American identity and how it has changed and such stuff. Sorry. And there are also many mainstream productions that feature and also talk about LGBTQ plus individuals, gay rights, and the discrimination that LGBTQ plus individuals go through in day-to-day life. So there are newer themes, just like everywhere else in the world and everywhere else in other genres also. There are more novels like we talked about earlier in fiction also, which talk about LGBTQ plus and then talk about climate change, and these are the newer themes. Okay. Before moving on to Eugene O'Neill, let us spend some time on the general structure of a play. Now, I'm calling this a general structure of a play, but then typically this is a structure of an epic. Okay, and then we can use it for a play. Okay, so typically a story or a play has 5 parts to it. The first one is called exposition, which basically means introduces the background events and characters. So you know that this is the introduction chapter kind of time. Okay, so that's called exposition. Now, after exposition, there is something called rising action, which is, in film language, we call it climax, or, create suspense. And first, rising action is creating suspense. Then there is the climax. And then there is something called falling action, which is, in the initial introduction or exposition, people would state a problem. And then rising action basically means, confronting that problem. Then climax basically says what happened to the problem. Falling action is the main conflict or the problem starts to resolve slowly. And then the ending is resolution, which is, tying up the loose ends for what happens in the end, that kind of stuff. Okay, these are the 5 phases. Keep this in mind because we are going to talk about Eugene O'Neill's and Arthur Miller's work, and then we will see how this ties into those works. And like I said, typically this is a structure of an epic, but it can also be applied to other genres. Okay, I will repeat the structure once. There's exposition, which introduces background events and characters. Then there is rising action, which creates the suspense. Then there's climax. Then there's falling action, and then there's the resolution. Okay. Okay. Now, let us look at one of the greatest American dramatists or playwrights, Eugene O'Neill. He has written over 30 full-length plays. He's won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1936, I think. But what did he write about? Let's not go into O'Neill's life and everything. I think there is a short introduction in your course book. So when you get time, please go through that and you will know about who O'Neill was. But the more important stuff is what did he write about? What we have to remember is by the time O'Neill came into the scene, realism was in full swing, like we discussed in American drama. But there's a specialty for O'Neill. O'Neill didn't think realism could properly describe the inner self of man. Now, according to O'Neill, whatever is reality is an external thing, outside thing. Now, realism as a concept cannot describe what is happening inside a man. Now, inside a man basically means, inner self, thought process, and that kind of nature and that kind of stuff, like a personal nature. So he used something called expressionism to bring forth the inner self of man. Okay, expressionism basically rejected realism and then it focused on dreamlike states and then narratives that are not linear. They don't go straight. They just, go flashbacks and then, there are flash forwards. And then he used a lot of imagery and symbolism in place of, naturalism and realism. Okay. So O'Neill, basically, you'll have to remember, O'Neill used a lot of expressionism rather than realism. Now, he was also concerned about something he called, this is his phrase, he called it sickness of society. Now, what is sickness of society? This is the inner conflict that man has. Now, man has a sensitive soul, but then forces of the society ruin this soul and lead to inner conflict. That was O'Neill's opinion. Okay, basically, he said, man regularly is a good person or a good human being, but and who has a sensitive soul, but then the forces of society and then what happens in the realistic world ruin the soul and then lead to inner conflict. Now, when I'm saying man, I don't mean guys, okay? Man, basically, I mean men and women both. I'm not saying only men have soul. I'm saying everybody has a soul which is sensitive, but then that soul is ruined by whatever happens in our life and then in the society. Now, O'Neill was trying really hard to portray this conflict in his drama. Okay, let's see if he was successful by taking one example. Okay, now let us look at one of the plays written by Eugene O'Neill. Like we have done in other genres, we will first look at the summary of the work and then we will discuss the themes. Okay. Before that, let me very quickly do something. Okay. The work that we're going to discuss is called Desire Under the Elms. This play was written in 1924 and opens on a farm of a family. The family name is Cabot. Okay, this is a farm of the Cabot family. The farmland is not ready for any agriculture, so basically nothing can grow there because it is covered with stones, rocks, and it's basically not arable. It's not no, but nothing can be grown there. There are these huge elm trees. Elm tree is a tree that is on your screen. That's an elm tree which has a very big, umbrella kind of thing. So there's a lot of shade. Now, nothing grows in that farm because there are rocks and there are also huge elm trees that cover the farmland. So the land is always in shade. So it doesn't get any sunlight. So that's why there's nothing growing there. This particular farm is owned by somebody called Ephraim Cabot. That is the main guy. He's also listed in the major characters on your screen. Now, this guy has three sons, Simeon, Peter, and Eben. They are also listed on your screen. Now, just follow through the plot of this particular play very carefully because there are very big twists and turns. But anyway, so Ephraim Cabot is our guy, and then he has three sons, Simeon, Peter, and Eben. All three sons don't like their father for different reasons. Simeon and Peter, who are Cabot's sons from his first marriage, hate their father because he gives them physical and laborious work in the farm. He says, go work in the farm, go take out the stones, go, cut the branches of the tree. This kind of physical and laborious work is given to them. So they don't like their father, they hate him. But Eben, this guy is Cabot's son from a second marriage. He hates this guy because he thinks his mother was killed because of the hard work she was doing in the farm. Okay, so basically all three sons hate him for different reasons. Now he wants to take revenge on his dad, Eben. I'm talking about Eben, the one from the second marriage. He wants to take revenge on his dad for his mother's death and take the farm for himself because he thinks he's the rightful owner of the farm. Okay, he thinks, I mean, I am the rightful owner of the farm because I work so hard in the farm, so this should come to me. Now, this guy even comes to know that Cabot, the dad, the old man, has remarried again. So this is the third marriage. So all three sons are angry now because, this threatens their right to inherit the farm. Why? Because, this old guy is marrying a young woman. So if they have a son, then the property will go to that son, whereas all the hard work is done by these three sons, these three older sons. Now, Eben is very smart. So he talks to his brothers, buys their part of the farm. And then by the time Cabot, Mamata, can you please go on mute? Okay. Where was I? I've lost the train of thought completely. What was I talking about?
Three sons wanted to take revenge.
Okay, yeah. So Ibn is smart. So this old guy gets married again, and then that makes all three people mad. And by the time this old guy returns home, his sons from the first wife are ready to leave home because the older one has or the other one has given them money and then bought their share of the land. So they want to leave. Now they scold this their father for remarrying, and then they go away. Okay, that's the end of their story. So only three people are remaining now in our story. The old guy Cabot, Ephraim Cabot, his new wife, her name is Abby, and his son, Eben. Okay, that is the character set right now. Now Abby, she's a younger person, and then Cabot is old, really old, right? Now Abby falls in love with Eben, okay, who is technically related to her as a son, and tries to seduce him. Eben is not interested because his concentration is totally on the farm. He's like, I want the farm. I don't want this woman. So anyway, Abby tells Eben to give her the farm if she bears Cabot's son. Okay, she says, okay, I will give your father a son, but then ultimately you have to give me the farm. Okay? In the meantime, she tries to seduce Eben again, and this time he cannot resist, so they are having an affair. Okay, this is called incest, but we will talk about it later. Now 1 year passes by and Abby has a baby. Now this old guy thinks the baby is his, but Abby knows that the baby is not his, but it's Eben's. Now, everybody in the town actually knows that Cabot is not the father. It's Eben who's the father. But Eben meets his dad and tells his dad that, you have to give me the farm. And then Cabot says, get lost. I cannot give you the farm because Abby now has a baby and he has promised the farmland to her if she has a baby. Now, suddenly Eben understands and then gets angry because he thinks Abby manipulated him and also his father. So he goes and fights with Abby. He says he wishes the baby dies because the baby is the cause for him not getting the farm and everything. It's just because of the baby that he's not getting the farm. Now Abby is really stupid, so to prove her love towards Eben, Abby kills her own baby. Okay, so the baby is dead now. Eben is shocked and goes to tell the police. Now, in the meantime, our old Cabot wakes up, finds out what happened, finds out the affair between Eben and Abby, and is angry. He wants to leave. He goes and tries to get his hard-earned money and then realizes that Eben had already stolen it to pay his brothers. You remember those two brothers, Simeon and Peter, who left? Yeah, those brothers he paid with his father's money. So he's sad and decides to continue to work on the land and then dying alone thinking it's God's will. I mean, what can I do? I mean, this is my life and whatever. In the end what happens is the police come and arrest Eben and Abby. That's the end of this play. Okay, the arresting of Eben and Abby is the end of the play. As you can see, this is a really violent and disturbing play. So let's very quickly talk about what the themes are. One theme is very major theme is desire. Why? Because each character has a different desire. The desire is not the same for everybody. The sons have a desire for the farmland. They have a desire to earn money. Now, old guy Ephraim Cabot has a desire to have a young wife, Abby. Then Eben has a desire to get the farmland for himself. Abby has a desire for Eben. So all these people have desires, but different. Okay. Now, the title itself has the word desire in it. So you can see that this is a major theme. Another theme that we can talk about is revenge. Eben blames his father for his mother's death and hates him. So he wants to take a revenge on the father. Abby also takes revenge on the baby because she thinks the baby comes between herself and Eben. And so the revenge is also another theme. But then we will go back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. Family relationships and interpersonal relationships, those are the characteristics of the American drama and especially Eugene O'Neill's drama. So family definitely is another theme. Now, we have to notice that when we say family, we are not talking about the caring, loving family that we usually talk about. We are talking about in the play, it is a cursed, revenge-seeking, dark family. Okay, one person wants to kill the other person, a baby is killed, and then, it's a weird family. Now, another theme that we can think of is suffering. Can anybody tell me how suffering is a theme? Who suffered in this play?
Children.
Children. Okay, you mean the sons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone, sir.
Very good. Okay, Ashia, how has everyone suffered? Can you give a
because
couple of examples?
everyone have their desires, and everyone was like thinking of to take a revenge on each other. It was like that.
Right. And in the end, if you see, nobody got their desire fulfilled,
Yes.
right? I mean, everybody had their desires, but nobody got their desire fulfilled. So they were pushed into suffering. Okay, good. Any other thoughts on suffering?
Yes, sir. Like Ashia said, everyone suffered
Hmm.
because every character had their own motives.
Hmm.
Uh, Abby was stuck in a loveless marriage and having an affair, which
Hmm.
is an incest. And
Hmm.
even just he wanted the farm and he had no desire for anything else.
Hmm.
The father, he just wanted a new wife and all that. So, and the previous sons, they suffered with they couldn't get their father's love or money. So
Great. Okay. Yeah, I agree with everything that you all said. Again, 3050 Rafi. Can you please change your name to your original name? I can't keep calling you 3050 Rafi. But you have a very good observation. He or she says the father suffers betrayal. So that is betrayal is again one of the major themes. Why? Because he had his sons. He thought what he was doing was right, but then he was betrayed by his own sons. Two sons left him, and then the third son, he has stolen his money and then had an affair with his wife. So he was completely betrayed and even suffered from manipulation. Yes, that is also true. Okay. One thing that I want to bring your notice to is in the first class, we talked about something called protested work ethic, which says if you work hard, you will succeed. Okay, so this is a minor theme in this, or a major theme. It depends on how you look at it. But this is a theme also in this because initially at the starting of the play, the farmland was useless. It has nothing to grow. Now, Ephraim Cabot, because of his hard work and the hard work of the family, makes it arable, makes it a farm where he can grow stuff. Okay, and in the end also, if you see Ephraim Cabot, he's not dead actually. He just agrees to whatever God has given him, and then he says, "This is all God's will," and then I will still continue to work on my farm in a very hard working fashion. So that Puritan work ethic or the Protestant work ethic is also a theme. Okay, Padmavati says family problems. Okay, good. Okay, now, and Samira has already mentioned this as a theme. Eben is Abby's son in a way, but then they have a sexual relationship. So incest is another theme in this no, in this play. Okay, can somebody explain this play with the 5 parts of the play? You remember the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and then the resolution. What are or where are those in this play? Does anybody want to take a shot at it? If not, I can explain, but then let's see if somebody wants to talk about. Okay, I will tell you what the exposition or the first four, and then we will see what the resolution is. The exposition part is basically introduction to Cabot family, the farmland. That is the exposition part where the setting is happening. Okay, they are setting the scene. That's the exposition part. Where is the rising action? The rising action is, the sons hating their father, then the farmland being owned by, Cabot, but then everybody hates him. Abby's entry into the scene, Abby's relationship with Eben or Eben's relationship with Abby. This is rising action. Why? Because this is not the climax. This is basically the action is rising so that the playwright brings us to the climax or the main part of the story. What's the climax in the falling action? Eben's child with Abby. And then, they expressing their love with each other. And then, Cabot finding out about their relationship. That's the climax. Why? Because that is what leads you to the resolution. What's the resolution? Eben and Abby getting arrested. Okay. Somehow there has to be some kind of justice at the end, right? So Eben and Abby getting arrested is the justice. Why? Because obviously Ephraim Cabot didn't get any justice. This fellow is still working hard in the land, okay, or on the farm. So he obviously didn't get any justice, but the resolution is Eben and Abby getting arrested. Okay. Any questions on the structure? Again, I'm not sure if the course book has the structure, but remember the structure so that you can remember the story.
Sir, I would like to just
Yes,
get a
Rebecca.
clarification over here. With with the barren land and unfruitful land, they are still struggling to find some fruit in that with all their sufferings and not being successful. So, does this come under the Puritan level? Does it match there?
Yes, the Protestant work ethic. So, Rebecca, the Protestant work ethic can be summarized in one particular line, which is if you work hard, you will succeed.
Yeah.
That's the definition of quote unquote
But there is
definition
no,
of Protestant.
but it did not pay off, right?
It did
The
not
hard
pay
work
off.
didn't.
Yes,
Yeah.
the hard work did not pay off. But then the hard work was due to, believing in God and then saying, if we believe in God and then have or put in a lot of labor, physical labor, then eventually we will succeed. Now, the success didn't happen. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But
It
then the
didn't
Puritan
happen.
work ethic did happen, right? The work ethic
Yes.
was still
Yes.
there.
Yeah. So what does it come under?
It is still Puritan work ethic. The work ethic doesn't talk about the end result. While it says if you work hard, you will succeed. In this particular play, he didn't succeed. But there might be plays or stories or fiction otherwise, which would have people who are working hard and they will succeed.
Yes.
Right? So Puritan work ethic only says that you work hard and you will succeed. That's it. And that's the belief of Ephraim Cabot.
Okay.
That's why it's a theme of this particular drama. Okay. You have to take away the end result from that work ethic. Okay. Concentrate on the first part. And the first part says you have to work hard. So which is what Cabot was continuously trying to do.
Okay. Yeah, but it makes no sense, right?
It makes no sense if you talk about it in a complete sentence. If you say every hard work will end in success, that itself doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
It's not always true. If you look at even in regular life, not everybody who works hard is successful. Sometimes smart works pay off. Sometimes, luck gets in picture. Whatever, it depends on what you believe in, right?
Yeah.
So not every hard work ends in success. But we are saying that the Protestant work ethic is a part or is a theme only because of what the first part of the sentence says, which is work hard. Keep working hard, keep working hard, and keep working hard. Okay, let me put it in this way. The play ended with these two people, the so-called mother and son, getting arrested, right? If you were the playwright, you can take it a little further and then say, because Ephraim Cabot worked so hard on the land, eventually he was able to grow something and then he lived a happy life ever after alone.
Yeah.
Right? So that will complete the Protestant work ethic sentence.
But the barren land will not yield any fruit at all. So it doesn't happen on that land. They need to move.
Yeah, I mean, again, right? I mean, this is a fictional story. It's not a real story. So as a playwright, you can do anything, right?
Yeah.
You can say, Ephraim Cabot cut off all those elm trees and then he took all the rocks and stones away from it. So there was sunlight. So initially he put in crops that would require sunlight. And then slowly, steadily, it became a better land or something like that, right? So that is the creator's liberty or whatever you call it, right? That's the artistic liberty that you can take. Okay. Let me very quickly read the comments. I'm sorry, the chat box. Killing her own baby, suffering from Abby. You're right, Asad. Hating their own father because of his remarriage is also emotional suffering for them. Oh, that's a very good. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a very good observation. It's not only suffering from the father's side, but also suffering for the children because they are seeing their father getting remarried not once or twice, but thrice. Okay. Property problems, bad relationship. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay. These are the themes. Let's move on. Okay. Another wonderful play. Kind of, I think this is an absurd play, not absurd in the regular English meaning, but in the absurd theater kind of play. Let's look at another play called Death of a Salesman. This was written by Arthur Miller in 1949. Miller was an American playwright. He was an essayist. He was a screenwriter. He actually wrote a couple of movies. One interesting thing about Miller is I don't know how many of you know who Marilyn Monroe is. He was Marilyn Monroe's husband. So that's one interesting tidbit about Arthur Miller. But anyway, he wrote a couple of her, or one or two of her movies also. And his play, Death of a Salesman, is considered one of the finest American plays of the 20th century. Okay, it's considered really, I mean, it is still being played in multiple theater groups. It's really famous. Give me a second. Okay, now let's look at the summary of the play. It's there in your book. I think it goes around for like 4 or 5 pages, but I'll very quickly summarize what the plot of the story is, or what the plot of the play is, and then we'll talk about the themes. Now, this is a story about a person called Willie Loman. That's our protagonist, and his wife Linda Loman. And this guy Willie Loman is a salesman and is not very good at it. So he's not very good at his job. So in the initial scene, he returns home exhausted from a failed sales trip. His wife Linda tries to persuade him and to ask his boss to let him work in New York so that he won't have to travel such long distances. He keeps going to long distances and then fails and then comes back, and then that makes him tired and then also disappointed. So the wife says, "Why don't you just ask your boss to let you work from New York so that you don't have to travel so long?" Willie says that he will talk to his boss the next day. Now, Willie and Linda have two sons. Their names are Biff and Happy. Happy is the name. So Willie complains that Biff, his older son, who has come back home to visit his parents, has to make something of himself. He says, Biff is just, sitting at home doing nothing. He has to make something of himself. No, so Biff doesn't work. So Willie says that he should do something and get a job. Linda scolds Willie for being so critical of their son. She says, he's our son. How can you talk about him like that? Whatever. Okay. So now Willie has two sons, like I said, Biff and Happy. Biff and Happy are not satisfied with their current lives and then talk about their father scolding them for not making something out of themselves. His father keeps scolding them and then they keep, thinking, the father is bad because he's scolding them. Now then there is a scene where Willie daydreams about his sons and goes back to where his sons were younger. Okay, so it gets a little complicated from here, but anyway. There's a scene where Willie daydreams about his sons and goes back. And in this daydream, the sons were younger. Now Linda enters the scene, and then their sons leave to do some work. And Willie then boasts of a great sales trip, but in actuality, it will only be a meagerly successful trip. He's just boasting. That's it. He's making it up. Now Willie tells Linda that soon he will be able to make his payments on his car and this, that, and all, and then he will become rich. He complains that people don't like him, and then he's not good at his job, but then he's done this wonderful sales trip. Now as this is happening, they hear a woman laughing. Now this woman is Willie's mistress. So Willie is actually having an affair on the side. Here is where the drama gets a lot complicated. Willie goes into a daydream inside his daydream. So there's a dream inside a dream. So he is having a daydream, and in that dream, he's having another dream. Now, what is his second dream about? He dreams about his mistress, who was just laughing, right? That mistress, we don't know the name of this mistress. Okay. Now, Happy, one of the sons, comes and tries to calm Willie down. Willie is very irritated and shouts that he should have gone to Alaska with his brother. This brother he just comes in between and then goes away. His brother's name is Ben, and who eventually found a diamond mine in Africa, and he became rich and this, that, and all. But anyway, listening to Willie shout, his neighbor Charlie comes in. Then they play cards. Charlie offers a job, but Willie rejects it, and certain minor stuff happens there. Now we are back to the present time. All this was the dream, remember? So now we are back to the present time. Willie is outside. Biff and Happy come downstairs and discuss Willie's condition with their mother. They say, you know what, this guy is going crazy. Why is he not good at his job? What's going on with him and everything? And Linda scolds Biff for judging Willie. He says, you can't judge your father like this. He is doing all he can. He will get better at what he's doing. Now, Linda mentions Willie also has tried to commit suicide, okay, because of depression and all. He has tried to commit suicide. Happy gets angrier at his brother, and then, they have a fight. Biff and Happy have a fight. Like after a lot of fighting, everyone goes to bed. Now, this is all Act 1. Now, Act 2 of the play opens with Willie enjoying the breakfast that Linda has made for him. And he goes on and asks his boss for a transfer to New York. You remember at the start of Act 1, Linda was asking him to ask his boss. So he goes to his office and then asks his boss for a transfer to New York, but his boss refuses it. He says, no, it cannot happen. Willie meets his sons for dinner and tells them that he's fired from his job. He gets, he actually gets fired. He loses his job. So there is again a fight between Biff and Willie. Some things happen afterwards. Then Willie goes home. Everybody sleeps except for Willie. Now he's thinking, well, I mean, I was anyway bad at my job, but then now I've also lost it. So how am I going to, support my family? Especially when both sons are not working. Now he thinks, a thought comes into his mind. He thinks if he dies, then his family will get the insurance money. He has an insurance policy. So what he does is at the end of the play, he gets into a car, speeds away, and then he dies. Okay, he just speeds away in the car and dies. Now, the last scene of the play is there's a funeral for Willie, and Linda and Happy is the guy. Linda and Happy, one of the sons, stand in shock after seeing that very few people have come to Willie's funeral. Nobody has come. Why? Because this guy was a nobody when he was alive. Okay, he didn't have many friends. He wasn't successful. He didn't do much. So very few people attend the funeral. Now, Linda asks Willie for forgiveness for being unable to cry. Even his own wife will not be able to cry for Willie, even after he dies. She begins to cry eventually in the end, and then she repeats one sentence, which is, we are free. Okay, she keeps saying, we are free, we are free, we are free. And then that's when the curtain falls, and then that's the end of the play. Okay. Now, this is a very, very quick overview, but then, there are other minor things that happen, but those are not really important for our discussion. So as you can see, this is a very pretty intense drama. Okay? It's not for the faint-hearted. It has really intense stuff going on. But let's see what the themes are. Okay? One is relationship between people, be it Linda and Willie or their relationship with their son. Again, if you see, familial relationships have come back as a theme. Like we discussed, family relationships and interpersonal relationships were very, very big at that time as themes. It has come back in this particular play also. Another theme is something that we discussed in the initial class. It was called American Dream. People who have attended the first class might remember what an American Dream is. Specifically, a false version of what helps a man achieve this American Dream. That is what is a main theme in this particular play. Billy has this false vision that he will keep working hard and he will succeed someday. So this goes back to Rebecca's question about the Protestant work ethic. So Willie was also a very hard worker, but still in the end, he didn't get what he wanted. He had to die and then, sacrifice his life for his family to sustain or survive. He actually lives in denial. He thinks, Biff, his son, should be fulfilling Willie's unfulfilled dream. He would say he's like a typical father who would think, if all my dreams should be fulfilled by my sons or daughters. Okay, my offspring should fulfill all my dreams because I have sacrificed a lot. And then I couldn't do it, so my son will do it. I couldn't do it, so my daughter will do it. So that's the kind of false sense of reality that he's living in. So he doesn't change with time. He is a very rigid person. So instead, he's fixated on his view that someone who is presentable will make it big in sales. So he keeps, going in a presentable way, and then he ignores the skill. So anyway, another theme that doesn't come across actually unless you actually watch the play or read it completely is contradiction. Okay, why is it contradiction? Especially in Willie's character. He says Biff is lazy at one point in, I think it was in Act 2 or Act 1. I forget. But he says Biff is lazy, but then 2 minutes later, he says Biff is not lazy. So this guy is a little, quote unquote crazy. Okay, he says things that he doesn't mean, then he says things that he means, and then, he forgets them, that kind of person. All along the play, Willie is filled with contradictions, but you will not notice this with my summary because I have not talked about every single dialogue. If you really read the play or you watch somebody perform, then you will immediately realize that there are a lot of contradictions. Okay, any other themes that you can think of? I've mentioned American Dream. I've mentioned familial relationships. Anything else that you can think of? In the meantime, I'll go to the chat and then see if somebody has any questions. And then, of course, the Puritan work ethic, or the Protestant work ethic is also a recurring theme. Because like we just discussed with Eugene O'Neill, O'Neill's play, in this play also, the guy works hard. Eventually, he doesn't get what he wants, but then he works really hard. Okay. Can we just move on? All right. Answering questions from this unit, one of the questions can be, what are the major themes of Desire Under the Elms? Now, this question you already know. We have been doing this starting from fiction. We have been identifying major themes. As long as you know the story, you can easily attempt this question. And this question can be there for anything. Okay, what are the major themes of Desire Under the Elms? Or what are the major themes of Light in August? Or what are the major themes of any other book or work that we have discussed? Okay. So you can write about desire, revenge, suffering, all these things as the major themes. The second one is a little more analytical. Okay, it says analyze Willy Loman's character from the death of a salesman. Now, this particular one is interesting because you will have to not only know the story, but you should also know Willy Loman's character in detail. Okay.
He was
Sometimes the
not
question,
so supportive.
who was not so supportive?
This Willie.
Willy is a guy.
Sorry, Willie's wife.
Linda. Okay.
Yeah. She was not
She was
supportive to him.
not so supportive. Okay. Prekshna, is it? I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Preksha.
Preksha, sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
Preksha, why are you saying that she's not supportive?
Because if she has helped from anything to him, he wouldn't attempt the suicide thing. He could have helped
Okay.
more.
Okay, but then I mentioned as part of the synopsis, I mentioned that one time Biff comes and then says, my dad is an idiot. He doesn't know what to do, this, that, and all. And then Linda kind of scolds him, right?
Yeah.
Saying that you can't talk like this about your dad. Okay, so and then at the starting of the story also, at the starting of the play also, she says, or she's concerned about Willie going long distances and then getting tired. So she says, why don't you ask for a transfer to New York so that you don't have to travel. Isn't this part of the support that she's giving?
Okay.
No,
Then
no, you're
yeah,
right, actually. I
yeah,
mean, you might be thinking she might have supported more. Is that what you're
yeah,
saying? She did
yes,
support, but then a little more support would have made some difference. That's what you're saying. Is
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay,
Apart from his kids also can support him instead of blaming him.
right. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Now, going back to the second question, analyze Willy Loman's character from Death of a Salesman. Like I said, you can talk about Willy's character here, analyze it in your own way. For some people, Willy is a good guy. So for some people, Willy is a bad guy. Okay, it's a subjective answer. There's no right answer or wrong answer for this. You can talk about how he's reluctant to change, how he's filled with inconsistencies, there is contradiction, and all these things. If you ask somebody, then they might say that Willy is a loser. He doesn't know how to live. He is a bad salesperson. Overall, Willy's character is a little pathetic. Okay. But if you ask somebody else, then they would say Willy Loman's character is a very strong character. Why? Because he believed in the Protestant work ethic. He was working really hard. Even though he has so many failures in his life, he still kept going. So his character, I mean, eventually he died. That's a different story. But until that time, he kept going and going and going. Even when, like, Preksha said, even though when he didn't get all the support that was required from his family. Okay, so it's a very subjective answer, but like I said, the point is you will have to not only know the plot of the play, but you should also know the character analysis. Okay, Asad says manual labor is also a theme. Yes, that kind of covers the Protestant work ethic. He doesn't have control on his emotions and desires. Yeah, again, I mean, this can be, Asad, this can be looked at from a positive and a negative way, right? Some people might say, come on, man, I mean, he is a adult and then he should have some kind of control over his emotions and desires. And some people would say, he's just being a human being and then, we cannot control our emotions and desires. Okay. Okay, hold on. The American dream, why has it changed what it means back and during death of salesmen and nowadays like the people dream different things now, as it is like a concept of whole American nation's dream? Good question. We talked, I am not sure if you attended the first class, NYPC. That's the question from him. He's asking if the American dream has changed from long time ago until now. And the answer is yes. Somebody was going to research on this, but anyway, the answer is yes. The American dream obviously has changed from a couple of 100 years ago until now. Why? Because the society has changed. The things that we as people want now are completely different from the things that we wanted or people wanted a couple of 100 years ago, right? If you talk about the time period between the interwar period, like, between the World War I and World War II, then people didn't care if they had TV or not. All they cared for was food. Like Asad was saying earlier, it's the bread and butter issues that are more important than anything else. So the American dream at that point of time was not, being happy or getting money. It was more filling your tummy. Now the American dream might be completely different. I am not an American, but I'm pretty sure whoever is American, their dream would be different. And it would be the same, I would imagine, for Indians also. The Indian dream at one point of time was freedom, right? Freedom from the British, and then we wanted to be independent and such kind of dream. Nowadays, the dream is something else. Now, some people want money, some people want peace of mind, some people want something else. But having said that, your comment brings in an important point, which is as it is like a concept of whole American nation's dream. So it cannot be the whole nation's dream, right? We are individual people, even though we call ourselves a nation, be it America or India. But then we all want such different things in life that we cannot say, there's one Indian dream. My dream, like Ashwin's dream, is not same as Preksha's dream, which is not same as somebody else's dream or Rebecca's dream, right? We all have different dreams. So we cannot lump all these things together and then say we have an Indian dream. So yeah, that's my opinion. Few people need opportunities also. Yes, Preksha, that's right. It is a new life as older, but it's just capitalism now, how it's that far from being like new beginnings to
Sir,
this nationalistic approach.
it's
Yeah.
it's almost like if I want to pursue my master's in America, it's like that. That also comes under like American dream.
No, that's an Indian dream, right?
No,
Why?
being an Indian, like being
Right.
an Indian,
Huh.
I might think of American dream in that way.
No. So so the definition of American dream is what are Americans dreaming about. That's the
Okay,
definition.
okay,
Okay, so that's why yours becomes Indian dream, Arshia.
okay.
As an Indian, you are dreaming of going to America. That's your Indian dream, not the
Okay.
American dream. The American dream is what the
People
Americans are
living in
dreaming about.
America and
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay. One thing very quickly, we are running out of time, but one thing very quickly I need to address here. I don't think your course book discusses this, so I'll be very brief, which is Native American drama. Okay, we talked about Native American literature in Unit 2, I think, but we have not talked about Native American fiction or poetry or drama. It's a severely big gap in research wise as well as otherwise. Okay, so a lack of knowledge of these cultural practices of the Native American people around which their stories revolve has been a constant challenge in relating their stories to others. But the non-natives don't understand the Native American the culture, so that gap basically is cause for not having a lot of Native American drama. Now, Native American literature we have seen earlier also has been ignored for most of the time because of the ignorance of these non-natives on the native culture. There has been very little interest also shown in understanding the native tradition. There are two reasons for this. One is people outside the Native American tradition think that, the culture lacks quote unquote sophistication. Okay. Now, this is not true. I'm not supporting this. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying this is one of the reasons for Native American literature not getting the attention that it requires, or in fact it demands. And then the other part is because there is so much to know about these cultures. Like we have seen in Unit 2, there are a lot of Native American tribes, and then it's impossible to understand all these things in a small amount of time. So we have to put in a lot of efforts, and nobody wants to put in that effort. So that's why these are two-part reasons for why Native American literature is on the or drama in particular is on the back burner. Now, even the researchers undertaken in the field of Native American drama or even Native American literature is very less compared to other types. I mean, if you see, there will be tons of research theses and everything on Eugene O'Neill or Arthur Miller or any other dramatist or Tennessee Williams or anybody, Edward Albee, anybody. You take any other American dramatist or playwright, you will have a lot of more research done on them than the Native Americans. But so does that mean that there is no Native American drama? No, that's not what I'm saying. The history of Native American drama is as old as the nation itself. When America formed, that this goes back until there. But it was only in the late or early 20th century when Lynn Riggs came into the picture. That is when, the literature caught the spotlight. And then people started talking about Native American drama and Native American literature. He wrote over 21 plays, several short stories also. His name is Lynn Riggs. And then there are, of course, in the later part of the century, there are playwrights like Thompson Highway, Daniel David Moses. Then they took forward this genre. Okay. So I'll stop there. We don't have to do the recap questions today. Or very quickly, who wrote The Death of Salesman? The answer is Arthur Miller. When was Desire Under the Elms written? 1924. Name your favorite character from The Death of a Salesman. This I'm interested actually. Can somebody tell me what's your favorite character? Who's your favorite character from The Death of a Salesman? You don't have a favorite character?
Willie.
Willie. Now Shia says Willie. Okay. 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 So just think about, this particular play and then think about the contemporary life. And then, yeah. Okay. Let me very quickly go through the chat and then we can end the class. Native American culture has been ridiculed and made people forget due to the racism. Excellent. Yes, I agree with you, NYPC. Sir, can you please add my number in WhatsApp group of MA English if we have any? I'm sorry, you will have to, I'm not in the WhatsApp group, and then you will have to reach out to the admin. If the admin of the group is there in the call, can you please send a message to 3050 Rafe and add him or her to the group, please?
Yes, I'm the one of the admins.
Okay.
But I think I need the slip, your admission slip, so that we can add. So we can just cannot add like that.
Okay, yeah.
Told by
So, Rebecca, can you please do me a favor and then send a message, DM to 3050 Rafe. He's on the call. He or she's on the call right now. So just send it to him or her, and then you can coordinate between yourself.
Once they show me their admission slip or something, they can send it to me. Then I will add. That's what I was told. Madhuri ma'am, actually, that's what she said. So that's the only
Perfect. Okay, all right.
Excuse me, sir. I sent my slip on, so after that also my number is not added.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I'll try to send the link here. But the thing is, a lot of people who are not students were getting added, and that was the reason she told me. But I'm going to send the link here. You can get added like that.
Yeah, please don't forward that link to anybody. Like Rebecca said, I mean, the link is, or the group is very specific to students, so of MA English. So please don't just forward the link to somebody else to join. It's really difficult. I can understand how difficult it must be for Rebecca to control that. So yeah, the request is please don't do that. Okay. Okay, let's take a pause here for today. We are about 1:15. Yeah, let's take a pause here. In the next class, what we'll do is we will move on to the last block of your course book. It deals with women's writing, African American writing, and Jewish writing. All these are huge topics in general, but then the book concises them very well. So we will concentrate on one topic at a time, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. In the last class, which is next Sunday, or even in the next Saturday class, what we'll try and do is I will send the notes that I will collect from the internet or websites that I know of, and then I will send you those, and we will talk about very quickly. We will summarize, or in fact, if you have any other questions about the whole course or the book or whatever, then we can talk about those, and then we will wrap up the course. Okay. Thank you for joining the class today, and I'll see you all next week.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
one last question, sir.
Yes, Amira.
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
No.
Sir, can you explain theory of rasa also at the last class? Because we have attended, we are not getting literary criticism online classes, sir. So we have attended only offline classes, and that part was not dealt with. So if you can just brief it out, it would be really helpful for us.
Yeah, I can. It is just that I need an approval from Madhavi ma'am. I can't talk about anything apart from American literature. You probably can understand the reason. That's I'm the counselor only for American literature, but I can do that. So, do you have access to Dr. Madhuri?
Sir, it
Um,
was addressed to Madhuri ma'am as well, sir.
Okay. So, I mean, she's going to take care of it. Okay, she will not leave it just like that. So she will take care of it. I will also reach out to Dr. Madhuri and then ask if I can
Because we
take.
have left with the course, we haven't attended a single class.
Okay.
So that is the reason we are worried. Actually, it's like in August we have exams, so how it will work out, we don't know.
Yeah. I mean, again, I would suggest you to reach out to Madhuri ma'am and then ask her. I will also reach out to her and then ask her if I can just take that rasa theory, just that particular concept in the last class. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks very much for
yes, sir.
joining then. Yeah. Bye.